Okay, let's be honest. The whole charming bard stock character is not for everyone. Maybe you don't look good in a puffy shirt. Maybe a rapier just doesn't have enough heft or a satisfying thud when you use it. Maybe you get into fights at the local tavern on purpose. Maybe your idea of persuasion involves a lot of yelling. Or maybe you just want to play really angry music as loud as you can. Well, maybe you should adopt a more savage performance style and play a Skald. While not a good fit for every party, you have the skills and abilities to pump your team to 11 on the volume dial if you know what you're doing. The Skald fills much the same role as a bard. A frontline support class with acceptable but not spectacular combat skills. Think of the Skald as a battle bard. First off, let's look at the ability scores that matter to you as a Skald. Starting with Charisma. This is your most important ability score as it determines your spells and other class features. Next up, you'll need to make the choice between Strength or Dexterity. This will impact your fighting style and whether you're going melee or ranged. Skald is capable of either. Your next priority should be your Constitution score. This class is meant for combat, so HP is a must. Next up is your Wisdom score. Your performance can help offset some not spectacular will saves. Finally, there's Intelligence. This isn't really a dump stat. Skald is a skilled class in many ways. However, you have class features that can help offset a lower than really desirable number of skill points. Now that you know what matters, let's go over some potential race choices. Half-Orc. You get a +2 to any ability score. Also a great favored class bonus for the Skald. 1 additional round of your Raging Song per level. Finally, Half-Orcs have some great racial traits like Orc Ferocity. This can make for a very survivable melee-focused Skald. You might also consider Half-Elf. This gets a +2 to any ability score, like Half-Orc. Also like Half-Orc, you get +1 round to your Raging Song per level. Another good choice would be Aasimar, the Angel-Blooded variant. This gives you +2 to Strength and +2 to Charisma. Also, there are some cool racial feats, like Angelic Flesh. If you go with the Steel version, it'll give you +1 natural armor. For a ranged focus Skald, consider Catfolk. They get +2 to Dexterity and +2 to Charisma, with a -2 to their Wisdom score. Finally, an Ifrit Skald would be an interesting choice. They get +2 to Dexterity and +2 to Charisma, with a -2 to Wisdom. Ifrit can cast Burning Hands as a spell-like ability 1 time per day for some extra spell power. Skalds have a D8 hit die equal to Bards and Rogues. Also, like Bards and Rogues, you get a 3/4 base attack bonus. And for skill points, you get 4 plus your intelligence modifier per level. I think you're going to get most mileage out of your persuasion skills, diplomacy, intimidation, and bluff. However, you can also have a lot of fun with Use Magic Device. Next up, let's talk about your proficiencies. As a Skald, you're proficient with all simple and martial weapons, light armor and medium armor, and shields except tower shields. Skalds can wear armor and even have a shield without incurring arcane spell failure. However, this only counts for arcane spells gotten through Skald. Now let's talk about your spell casting. Skalds cast spells from the Bard spell list. There's an exception to that with your spell keening ability, more on that later. Skalds are spontaneous casters with a list of spells known, again, like Bard. Skald spells run off Charisma. This determines your bonus spells, spell save DCs, and the minimum requirement for spell casting. Skalds have 6 spell levels with the same limited cast per day as Bard, meaning you'll need to lean more on your martial combat and class features like Raging Song. Speaking of, Raging Song is really your defining class feature. You can buff yourself and your allies for a number of rounds per day. At level 1, you can use this ability for a number of rounds equal to 3 plus your charisma modifier. Just for comparison, bards get 4 plus charisma modifier. Now, exactly like the bard, as you level, you will get 2 additional rounds per day every level. At first level, starting your performance is a standard action. This increases to a move action at 7th level and a swift action at 13th level. Maintaining your song is a free action. Your performance ends if you are killed, paralyzed, stunned, or knocked out. To benefit from your performance, your allies must be able to hear you. Now, here's the important part. If your performance affects an ally, they must choose to accept the effect, both when the performance begins and when the ally's turn starts. Accepting the effect of your performance is not an action. If the effect is accepted, the effect will last until the start of the ally's next turn, where they must accept it again, or the song ends, whichever comes first. Now that you have an idea of how your performance works, let's talk about some of your performances. Your most important is Inspired Rage. This gives you and allies +2 to their strength and constitution modifiers and a +1 to will saves. These are all morale bonuses. There is also a -1 penalty to AC when under the effects of rage. If your allies choose to accept the rage, they cannot use any skills that are charisma, dexterity, or intelligence based, or any skill that requires concentration. The only exceptions are acrobatics, fly, intimidate, and ride. At 4th level and every 4 levels thereafter, the will save bonus increases by 1. And at 8th and 16th level, the strength and constitution bonus increases by 2. Next, Song of Marching. You and your allies may hustle for 1 hour per round of performance used, without incurring fatigue penalties or non-lethal damage from exhaustion. Another performance you have access to is Dirge of Doom. At 10th level, the Skald can cause the enemy to become shaken. Shaken imposes a -2 penalty on attack, damage, and saves. The area of effect is 30 feet. Enemies must be able to hear the Skald's performance. The shaken condition cannot be worsened to frightened or panicked. Next, Song of the Fallen. This allows you to temporarily revive a dead ally as if under the effects of Raise Dead. The ally must be within 60 feet. Raising an ally in this way consumes 1 round of your performance per round of combat. The ally dies again when the performance ends. Moving on to other class features. At 1st level, you will gain Bardic Knowledge. This adds 1/2 of your Skald level to all knowledge checks. And you can make knowledge checks untrained. Also at 1st level, you gain Scribe Scroll as a bonus feat. At 2nd level, you gain Versatile Performance. This allows you to use a performance skill in place of other skill checks. You have access to a number of different performances, but the ones I think will be most useful to you are Oratory. You can use Performance Oratory in place of a Diplomacy or Sense Motive check. Another good option is Sing. You can use this in place of a Bluff or Sense Motive check. Both of these options give you a Wisdom-based skill and a free Persuasion skill that you don't need to spend points on. Upon reaching 6th level, you will have access to Advanced Versatile Performance. This can be used a number of ways. First, instead of picking a new performance when you get access to another versatile performance at 7th level, you can add on to your existing versatile performance. The skills you can add are Bluff, Diplomacy, Disguise, Escape Artist, Handle Animal, Intimidate, Sense Motive, and Use Magic Device. Another option you have is to choose a weapon associated with a fighter weapon group. You can either gain proficiency with that weapon or gain weapon focus as a bonus feat. Your different performance styles have different types of weapons associated with them. As an example, the Oratory performance covers heavy blades and light blades. you could gain Weapon Focus Greatswords as a bonus feat. Also, your effective fighter level is equal to 1/2 your Skald level for the purpose of fighter feats. What this means is at 9th level, you could take the fighter feat Weapon Specialization for a +2 to attack and damage with your greatsword. Next, at 2nd level, you will gain Well-Versed. This gives you a +4 save bonus to saves against bardic performances or any effect that is either language or sonic based. Now at 3rd level, you get one of the Skald's game-changing abilities, Rage Powers. You gain a Rage Power that you can apply to yourself and allies under the effects of Inspired Rage. This cannot be an activated power like Terrifying Howl, which requires a swift action, but it could be Knockback, which adds on to an existing attack. I really like the Totem Rage powers for this ability, like the Spirit Totem. This manifests spirits around the Rager that make attacks on their own. The improved version of this Rage power adds a mischance. Finally, the highest level of the Spirit Totem does negative energy damage to nearby enemies. At 4th level, you get Uncanny Dodge. This means that you can't become flat-footed or lose your dexterity bonus to AC if the enemy is invisible. Now at level 5, you get the second of the Skald's game-changing abilities, Spell Keening. 1 time per day, you can cast any spell from the Bard, Cleric, or Wizard spell lists, as if it were on your list of spells known. You can do this by spending a full round action and then using a spell slot of the appropriate level. At 11th level, this can be used twice per day and 3 times per day at 17th level. At level 8, you gain improved Uncanny Dodge. This means you cannot be flanked. At 9th level, you gain Damage Reduction. This works the same as Barbarian DR, except you gain it 2 levels later. Also, allies under the effect of Inspired Rage also gain this DR. Now that you're familiar with the class features of the Skald, let's talk about your feat options. A good evergreen option is Arcane Strike. Using Arcane Strike is a swift action, so you can maintain your performance and get your bonus damage at the same time. Next, Extra Performance. This gives you 6 more rounds of performance. This is a bard feat, but your Raging Song counts as bardic performance for any effect. Next, Extra Rage Power. This allows you to pick another Rage Power. Remember to keep that no activated abilities rule in mind. You might also consider Improved Dirge of Doom. This requires you to have the Dirge of Doom performance. It extends the range of Dirge of Doom by 30 feet to 60 feet, and increases the shaken condition to Frightened. What Frightened means is that there is a chance that affected enemies will flee. You could even upgrade it further to Greater Dirge of Doom. This allows frightened creatures to become panicked. The effect persists for 2 rounds after they leave your area of effect. Another feat to consider is Recover Rage. If you reduce a creature with a total number of hit dice equal to at least half your own hit dice to 0 hit points, you recover 1 round of Raging Song. Next, Skald's Vigor. While performing your Raging Song, you gain the effects of Fast Healing, equal to 1/2 the strength bonus from your performance. Next, Greater Skald's Vigor. This requires 10 ranks in Song, so it's a skill commitment and a long wait, but your allies will gain the Fast Healing as well. Now, let's talk about a couple of interesting items to augment your spell keening. First, the Runes of the Crone's Coven. This lets you use spell keening with spells from the Witch's spell list. But casting time takes twice as long and consumes a spell slot 1 level higher. It will cost you 16,000 gold pieces. Your other option is Runes of the Old Faith. This works just like the Runes of the Crone's Coven, but for druid spells. They will also cost you 16,000 gold pieces. Finally, I'd like to leave you with some inspiration for your Skald. First, just go ahead and think of any Viking-themed anything. Games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Skyrim, the new God of War games are a great place to look for Viking inspiration. I think you'll also find some interesting inspiration in the grimdark future of Warhammer 40k, particularly the daemons and servants of the Chaos Gods Nurgle and Slaanesh. Units like Nurgle's Noxious Blightbringer or the iconic Slaaneshi Noise Marines. Another very skaldic character is the narrator from the movie 300, that one Spartan who's always giving big, inspiring speeches about the heroic actions of Leonidas and his brave 300. Finally, Mad Max, Fury Road, the flamethrower guitar guy, and the drummers. Thank you very much for watching D6 Damage. If you'd like to support our work outside of YouTube, check out Sorcerous, a dark fantasy mystery inspired by tabletop games like Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder. A link to the Steam page is down in the description. Also, if you're interested in more Pathfinder 1E content, check out my channel right here on YouTube. Finally, if you'd like to take your game further, join the D6 Damage Discord. We have discussions about character builds, DMing, and all aspects of the game. A link is down in the description.